Good evening, guys. Good evening. Sound check. Good evening, everyone. Great. So, just waiting for a minute more so that everyone can join in before we start this session on market profile and how we can use market profile to take trading decisions. So, what we'll do today is we'll do a quick review on what has happened in this series so far, the February series, both in Nifty futures as well as Bank Nifty futures, and also look what further can be in store for the coming 2 weeks of this expiry. So what you have on screen is the Nifty market profile charts. And as the series started from the 25th of January, so let us have our review right from that day. So we can have a revision of what has happened so far in Nifty futures from the expiry on 25th of January till today, which is the 16th of February. And on in the process I will explain where we are using the how we are using the market profile charts and how we form the bias using the market profile charts. So on days when we are forming clearly higher value and on days where we are leaving some important buying references, the path of least resistance will be to the upside. And on other days when we are forming overlapping value, we look for range bound movements where we mark the upper reference and the lower reference. So, and how we can form composites on such days. So starting with the 25th of January, if we have a look one day before that, which is the 24th, we have got a good A period buying tail. So this A period buying tail is very important in market profile, and when it comes at a new low, it holds even more significance. We call it the initiative buying tail, and because we feel it is created by initiative players who want to get into the auction. And this came after this L period tail the previous day. So if you look at it on a daily time frame, this is nothing but a responsive buying tail along with the initiative buying tail. So this generally when it comes, it gives it leaves the important swing low in the auction. So this was the setup before we had the expiry day on 25th of January, and on that day we opened higher, but what happened was we were not able to take off this VWAP of 23rd, which was a trend day VWAP, and which was a 21609. So we stalled right there and we left an AP rate selling tail. So here clearly we got some selling at the open, at the higher open. That means the supply was there. But what we did was we formed overlapping value. The value as well as the range was completely inside the 24th profile and value also. And what happened was the POC shifted to the lows, which was at 21414, and into the close we got some good buying. So that is the reason we almost went on to negate this A period tail and we closed around the highs of the MTPO. So going forward, when we started this new series, this POC of 21414 and this day's VWAP of 21467 were the important references for the next day. On the monthly basis, we had marked the January series POC, which was at 21635, and the VWAP, which was at 21581. So these three were our important references: the 21414, 21581, and 21635. So what happened on Monday, because we were had a holiday on the Friday, the otherwise it would have been the first day of the series after the expiry, we formed another initiative buying tail. So this was very clear that the momentum which the buyers which had come in the closing periods of the expiry day were taking it up. So this A period tail means the buying is good, and we went on to make a trend day up. So this trend day gave an imbalance, continued the imbalance with a higher open on the 30th. But the 30th highs was just above this selling tail of 23rd Jan. 23rd January was also a trend day in Nifty. 23rd Jan and 17th Jan were 2 days where we formed a trend days down, both in Nifty futures as well as Bank Nifty futures. So when we are probing higher, these 10 days will definitely get back that supply who had which had formed that trend day down. So here we can see this selling buying tail was opposed by this selling tail. So here we were very clearly seeing supply which was coming back. But what happened on this day on the 30th Jan was, although we went on to make uh, new lows into the close, the POC shifted lower. So POC shifting here, and this is the reference which we had carried forward from the previous month, which was that POC 21635. So on the futures level, it was giving an important reference right at that level. So this was telling us that the shorts which had come at the higher level were booking out. They were not carrying or they were not adding in this zone. So the next day it became even more clear when we got another A period buying tail. So whatever shorts were there from this day, the late shorts had to cover, which is the reason we have got this P-shaped profile on this day. So then what happened on the first was these 3 days we have formed overlapping value. And what happened on the first was we tried to probe higher, but we got rejected from this selling tail, the A period selling tail, where we left a responsive selling tail in D, and we went on to make a neutral extreme day down. But once again, the context was we were in a value. If we have sellers who are dominant, we would have made lower value on the daily basis. Here we are forming overlapping value. And on this day, again, we had shifted this POC to the down side to 21754. So these were two signs where a short was not a good trade. Carrying a short was not a good trade here. So what we can do here is these 4 days we have formed overlapping value. So we can form a composite of these 4 days from the 29th January to the 1st of February. So what I do is I'll select those profiles and give a merge, and we have a composite of 4 days. So what the auction generally normally does is it forms a Gaussian curve on all time frames. So here you can see we have formed a nice balanced profile over that 4-day composite. And why we have formed this balance is we had buying at one zone and selling at one zone, and both of them were giving a mean revert. So which is why we had this nice balance. So what happened on the second was we opened above this value. So this was a clear indication that we are moving away from balance to a fresh imbalance. So which was confirmed by the A period buying tail. So we are above previous value and we have formed a buying tail. So we were trending higher. We even went above the 17th January's A period singles. We took off the previous VPOC which was not tagged of 22050 and went on to climb higher. So here you can see we made a one time frame higher till the E period, and this we stopped right near this HVN of 22200 from the 16th of January. So here once we made this high, I'll just enlarge this profile. So when does the auction change the character? Because till the E period we are making higher highs, F was inside E, so it could be a consolidation. But when the G period made lower lows for the first time in the day, we had one scene of crime which was at 22140. So we had a scene of crime here from where we not only uh, got back inside the IB, the initial balance, we went on to break VWAP and almost tag the uh, A period tail, the lows. We just held above this 21920 level, which was an FA from the 1st of February. So that was giving us some support. And what we saw here again was the POC shifting down to 21945. So that was showing us that the sellers who had come in must have booked some profits. So here once we finish this profile, an elongated profile, which retraced the entire up move and closed around the lows, we had this VWAP as the reference. And because it was an elongated day, we give important reference to the halfback of the day, which was a 22040. And you can see the next day we stalled right there. We made a probe higher because, as I said, the shots, most of the shots had booked out, so they wanted, there was no continuation of the downside. So we tested this AP rate singles and started to probe higher, and then we went on to stall right at that halfback of the previous day. And here again we can see we are not able to sustain above the VWAP of this day. So we need to have important references of the VWAP of days where we have good buying or good selling. So here when we are not able to take sustain about this VWAP, that means the sellers from this day are still dominant over here, and they went on to make a spike lower into the close, leave this extension handle, and what it did was, once it got into this composite, the value, it went on to hit this VWAP of 21774. So it was almost the end of the day, and this VWAP was an important support because this composite also has a buying tail, couple of buying tails, AP rate buying tails. So that means there was some buying demand also which was existing in this composite. So we made this profile after the 2nd of February, and then the next day we saw a similar kind of a short covering move. The POC shifted lower into the close on 5th, which was telling us that the shorts are not carrying, the shorts are booking out. And then the next day again we had a similar short covering move, which actually got into a double distribution trend day. We had left a small extension handle here, a 21920, I think, and then we went on to probe higher. So we had this double distribution where the POC was in the upper half and there was a HVN at the top, which was at 22,000. So next day we again opened higher on the 7th, but this profile, and if I split this profile, I forgot to mention one more reference from the 2nd of February, which was this extension handle of 22107, which was the high of the D period. And when we started the E, we had an extension handle left there. So when we have an extension handle, it is and it gets negated, it means an equal opposite forces into play. So this also was one of our reference, and this was mentioned in our business in business areas in the daily report also. So once this happened, we stalled right there. The high at open on 7th of February was exactly at the same place, and we left one AP rate selling tail. So we knew that this is getting back into the same thing is happening what was happening from the 29th to the 1st of February. We had formed these overlapping value 3 days, and this auction is coming back into the same play. So what we do now here is we have 4 days of overlapping value. So we can again form one composite. I'll just reduce the zoom in the size so that we can see. So here we can see the value is mostly overlapping on this 4 days. So we can form another composite over this 4 days. And get another good Gaussian curve. So composites looking at the value area and the POCs which are overlapping. So here you can see we've got this second nice Gaussian curve of the series. The first one was from here 29 to 1st Feb. The second one is from 2nd to 7th Feb. So what we did on 8th was again a classic market profile auction in play. What we did was we made a open above this value, but as I showed you that reference of 22110, we opened below it and we had a selling tail from the 7th, from where we got rejected, and we left another small selling tail in the IB. And once we got back into this composite, we have something called as the 80% rule. So when an auction enters a well balanced value area from the up or the downside, there is a 80% chance of the auction completing the entire value. So it easily swiped through the entire value in the open itself. And we have spoken about this move in the previous session also, how after it left this singles right at the value area low, it was getting rejected there in the two TPOs it made pullbacks to. So this was a trend day down 8th of February, and this VWAP of the trend day was one important reference we had to take forward. although the POC had shifted to the lows, which was meaning that the shorts were again booking out into the close and not carrying. So again, when we opened on 9th, we did not have a lower open. In fact, we opened higher and we got rejected right from this HVN 21850, and we probe lower. So we again formed, we took support at this 21670 level. The D period stopped, the E period stopped making lower lows, and we again formed a neutral day. So this neutral day is again telling us that the value is overlapping. So again, we are forming a balance on the higher time frame. And on the 12th, when we opened higher, this is a freak tick. I think the high we actually made was 21889. There was a freak tick at 22088 also in the market hours, I think, which was again taken out by the exchange, I guess. So what happened here? We again formed a uh, A period tail end probe lower. So, but again, it was a B-shaped profile. A B-shaped profile does not warrant for more follow up to the downside, because if it was actually good selling which had come in, we would have formed multiple range extensions and we would have closed at the lows, and the POC would have been in the higher part of the previous profile. But here you can see the POC is in the middle and we have formed a B-shaped profile. So what happened on 13th was, when we opened lower, there was a short covering move back into the previous day's value. So here again, we form one P-shaped profile, and these 3 days can again be taken as a composite. Why I am not considering 8th of February to be added in this is because we have some extension handle in the VWAP of this day, because this 21897 was not tagged on 12th. This is a freak tick. There were no volumes about 21889. So these references would have got lost. That is the reason I have not merged the profile also with the 4-day composite we have had before. So when we make this 3-day composite from 9th to 13th, we get this third Gaussian curve of this February series. So overall, what is happening is the February series has been in a range. We have not trended in one direction. So if we see the monthly profile, we'll obviously find a nice Gaussian curve even on the monthly profile, the developing monthly profile. So here we formed this 3-day balance, and you can see we opened lower on the 14th. This was a big gap down. We had closed somewhere around 21810, I think, and we opened lower. We probed below this A period singles. This composite has again got tails at both ends. So we know we have seller is dominant over here and the buyer is dominant over here. But when we opened lower on the 14th of February and got below this should have ideally gotten more supply in case if this had to move away from this balance. The same thing how we saw we moved away on the upside from that 4-day balance on the 2nd of Feb. We went on to make good highs, but here we hardly extended much below this. Immediately we started stalling. So A period tail at these new lows was the first sign that the selling is not coming in. And then what happened was, in the D, we got back into this value and the buyer started to come back in. In the G period, we got some more buying. So we went on to complete the 80% rule. And what we saw here, leaving an extension handle in the values, we did a similar thing on the upside on the 14th. So you can see we have left this extension handler 21825, which is the value area high of that composite. And this zone 21850, 21845, which was an important seller reference, now was overwhelmed by buying. So we had a buying extension handle there. So this was a trend day up and we closed at the highs, and we had left a long K period buying tail singles from 21867 to 21790. So this was a zone of singles. So what we had done was, we had rejected from probing below this value and we had closed higher. So this was the indication that the auction wants to move on the upside. So when we opened yesterday, it was an open auction. just an open auction, because we opened higher, but we did not find any takers above this VWAP 2189, this composite VWAP, sorry. So we were stalling just below this extension handle of 21986, and we probe lower. So when we probe lower and in the search of buyers, we took support right at this KP rate buying tail. We made a low of 21845, which I had mentioned was a seller reference before. So it was showing change of polarity. So this was the first sign that the downside is limited, because we are trading above this value, the composite value which we had formed. So it was trying to absorb all the supply which was coming at these higher levels of this 8th of February, and it succeeded in the I period where we made new highs. And but again it stalled right at this extension handle of 22031 from the 8th of February. So what we saw yesterday was we made a high right there, and we saw the HVN building up at 22020. But overall, as we formed higher value, we knew that the upside was what we were looking at. So and today we opened higher, and after we opened higher, it was an open auction out of range today. What we have been doing is we have been getting accepted in this supply zone, and we went on to tag today's high is right at the 22140, which I had mentioned was the scene of crime from the 2nd of February. So because auction is just making sure it is forming value in all the zones before it proceeds to the next level. So moving forward, what will be the play for the coming week? So now that we have formed a nice Gaussian curve here, we will need to either get accepted above this value area for more upside, or we'll need to get some selling below this value area. So we've got this value area 22080 and 22124 as the reference for the Monday. So if we remain below this value area, we will look to consolidate this zone. We'll look to form value in this zone where we have not found value, because the value of this 15th February was here at 21975. So we can see the auction remaining between this 22080 and 21980. So this could be our reference for Monday if we are staying below this prominent POC of 22095. And for upside, we will need to stay above this. And in the open, if we are getting an initiative buying tail in the IB, we can expect more upside. The upside would continue towards that 22189, which is the selling tail of this, and we have a unvisited POC here of 22237. So those would be our upside targets. So this is as far as Nifty futures is concerned. I'll quickly take a break here for questions. If any queries are there regarding what we have covered so far, you can please shoot in the queries. So any questions anyone has till now, you can just post them, and I'll try to answer them before we shift on to the Bank Nifty profile chart and see what Bank Nifty has done through this series. Yes, this video will be uploaded on YouTube. You can have a watch again. So do I carry forward in case there are no other queries, and do we move on to the Bank Nifty? Yes, 21820 is support because it is the composite value of that composite. HVN are high volume nodes. It is just like POCs. POCs is again point of control, which is defined by the highest concentration of volume on that particular day. So again, HVN is also a similar concept. Singles is a zone where you have only one single TPO running on market profile chart. So if we look at the profile chart of 14th of February, and if you split this, you even if you don't split it, you can see that you have only the K period from this 21864 to 21790. So you have only one row of the TPOs. So that is called as singles. So these singles, we have different TPOs of where singles, we give more importance to singles of TPOs in the initial balance. The singles which are formed in the A and B are important, the most important singles. What we get midway through the day or later through the day, if we get in the closing part, those singles are considered to be a spike, and we have spike rules which are there for that. A period singles are the most important singles, and they give us confirmation of initiative players entering the market. So I'll shift to the Bank Nifty profile, and we will see what has happened in the Bank Nifty. Just a minute, guys. I think my browser has got stuck, so I'm just changing the browser so that okay. Uh, the charts are back for all. So what we have on screen now is the Bank Nifty profile chart. So So let us start from the 25th of February, which was the first day of the series. So as we can see, we actually made new lows on the 25th of February in Bank Nifty futures. But the profile wise, this is a kind of a B-shaped profile, what has been made. So a B-shaped profile, and to just give you a context, we had been falling lower in Bank Nifty from this 23rd of February, 23rd of January, sorry. We had this huge outside bar and a trend day down from the 23rd of January. So we were already in a trending move lower in Bank Nifty. So when we formed this B-shaped profile on expiry day, this was actually not a good sign for continuation. It was actually showing us that the sellers may be getting exhausted. And what one more thing what has happened here is, because we had a new series which was starting, the sellers were from the old series and they were all booking out, and they booked out in the Jan series, and most of them did not carry their shots in the February series. Why we can say this? Because here we saw the POC at the lows. The POC was at 44999, and which was also our rollover point. And then we saw some good greens in the order flow, and it made it to go on to almost negate this A period high. We made a high, and we almost closed at these M period highs. So it was very clear in Bank Nifty that there was lot of buying which was coming in the first day of the series. In fact, on the expiry day, not the first day of the series. So here we got further confirmation that the downside was limited when we opened higher on the next day and we probed higher. But what happened here was we made the seaside extension. Seaside extension is known for being a dhoka period, and the seaside came right at this extension handle of the 23rd of Jan. So in market profile, we have these references marked out for us, and we, till the time it does not get negated, we keep keep a note of them so that we know what the auction is doing. So this was a 2-day balance. So here in Bank Nifty series, we can make this 2-day composite because this was overlapping value and a nice Gaussian curve. So on the 31st of Jan, we in fact tried to move lower. We tried to move away from this value on the downside, but we got rejected and the B period was totally rebel. The B period went on to make new highs and we just swiped through this value. We left an extension handle and we made these new highs. So again, on the first, we had a neutral extreme day. So these two again are overlapping value. So we can again form another composite in Bank Nifty, giving this nice Gaussian curve. So this neutral extreme gave a rare follow up. We also had an FA on the 1st of February, which went on to complete the 180R level. And we made this trending move higher where we hit this 47135. So here I would want to take you back to one important reference. I'm very sorry, we have shifted to the TPO based. It is very important to have the volume based value area, because volume based value area is what will give us the exact references, volume based references, which is very important. So as you can see, we had this trend day on the 17th and the VWAP of the trend day was at 47125. So this high we made here stopped right there and we formed a responsive selling tail. So here when we did this, it was very clear that the Bank Nifty was getting reacted from one important supply zone. So it was not a surprise that we saw aggressive supply adding in after this F period low broke. So this day, 2nd of February, has some important selling levels which were tagged only today. So one of the important selling level was this 46991, a scene of crime similar to that 22140 which I had shown in the Nifty futures. And then we had this VPOC of 46825 and this VWAP. So these two levels were tagged today in Bank Nifty. But after this, what had happened? Once we have this neutral extreme day down, it was always that it is now seller dominated. With this VWAP as the reference, the PLR was to the downside. But what we did was, because we had a big imbalance on the second, we formed a nice 3-day balance. And you can see this seaside stalled the down move and it got some buying at this level, which was matching with this VWAP of the composite and the singles and the extension handle, this 31st January profile left. So this is where we knew that the buyer is responding here, and hence we form this 3-day composite. So again we can make a composite of these 3 days and get this nice Gaussian curve. So here again on the 8th, what we did was we opened above this composite. We in fact probed higher, and you can see we tried to get into this neutral extreme profile, but right here we got rejected and we left this B period selling tail. And once we got back into this value, this 80% rule was a easy job for it. We went on to leave singles in the D period. This was an extension handle. The place from where the D extended after the C lows, this is called an extension handle in market profile. Why is it called an extension handle? Because the auction is making an initiative move away from there. So that is the reason it is called an extension handle. So that extension handle till the time is not revisited will be a valid reference. Once it gets revisited, it is no longer valid. So we went on to form a trend day down. In fact, we left another extension handle here at 45450 and we made lows of this, lows of 45050, I think. So we stopped just above this rollover point and the expiry day VPOC of 44999. So the next day, because again, what happens in market profile, a balance leads to an imbalance and an imbalance leads to a balance. So this big trend day profile led to a balance being formed on the 9th. And in that balance, we saw some buying coming in, which caused this spike. And if you see, this is also an extension handle, which we left on that day. It was, I think, at 46700. So this K period singles was a buying zone, which would have been our reference for the next day. But important to note here is we have got some good supply reference here. So this zone of 45984 and this VWAP of 46050 was our reference along with this extension handle of 46117. So we were stalling in this zone. The supply was coming back here and we were again forming overlapping value for these 3 days. Again, I'm not adding the trend day profile in this, because the trend day we do not consider it to form any value area, because trend day is a day dominated by one of the parties, either the buyer or the seller. So we look at the VWAP and the POC along with the extension handles of that particular day as the references. So here from 9th to 13th, we have formed this 3-day composite, and Bank Nifty had a similar kind of a day on 14th, what we saw in Nifty. We made an attempt to probe lower, but we got rejected. We left an A period buying tail, and we went on to make a trend day up. So you can see how in between we stalled right at this value area high. We took a pause and then made a dip to the POC of this composite, got buying support there, and then proceeded higher. So once this trend day up was formed, the reference for the next day would have been this POC and the VWAP. So because what happened on 15th was we did not get any follow up through this 14th of February highs. In fact, we opened inside the range and we probed lower because there was no fresh demand at the open. So in the probe lower, we went on to test this. I'm sorry, again, it is shifted to the volume. We went on to test this POC and the VWAP. And in the VWAP, similarly, as we had seen before, we got some good buying coming back at this 45720. So this was a good responsive demand coming at a initiative buying level, which was the VWAP of previous day. So here we knew that the downside is getting limited. And this was the place where you could have started looking at again adding for longs in Bank Nifty. And we went on to probe higher for the rest of the day, making new highs of 46475, which was again the near the high of this 8th of February swing high. So today what happened again was we opened higher, but we did not get any fresh demand. So similar to what we did yesterday, we made a dip lower in the IB, and today we took support just above this POC, and 46350 was one earlier supply level which we have been tracking for the last 2 weeks in Bank Nifty. So when it was taking support there, and I'll show you the order flow chart, how we had made a low right there yesterday in the close on a 30-minute order flow chart. So when the IB low is being defended, it means that the buyers are still there here. So that is the reason it went on to make this probe higher and uh, go on to tag these references of 46688 and this VPOC of 46825. We made a high of 46886 today, I think. So, and this was the J period, and J is known for giving some uh, what false moves just like the C does, and it left a nice responsive selling tail here. So, but this is still a profit booking scene which we consider, because on the daily basis we have formed higher value. So going forward, although we have some selling references still to be taken out in Bank Nifty, our immediate reference would be the value of today. So if you stack this profile, we can see just like in Nifty, we have formed a nice balance here. So this value will be our reference, and along with this POC which was not tagged today. So in case we break below this POC, then we could look for a tag of this VWAP of 46058. So this would be our plan for the coming week and the Monday. And on the upside, we will first need to stay above this 46626 level, which is the POC as well as the value area high. And we will have to negate this selling tail, which is from 46739 today. So once we get accepted above 46739,740, we can look for these higher objectives, which is this 46119. And then we have that all important selling tail and the swing high of 47145. So this is what has happened in Bank Nifty futures. So any queries on this part, we can quickly address those queries and move on to the order flow charts, after which I will wrap up this session. Any queries on the Bank Nifty part? See, what we do at VTrender is we take a combination of market profile and order flow. So we don't because market profile is just giving you the reference, an important reference. What is happening at that reference, we look at order flow and then accordingly take decisions. Because as I gave you this example of we taking support just below this, we needed that order flow confirmation of getting an RB there, responsive buying pattern there. Same thing happened yesterday. Yesterday when we made this dip here, we got some good buying coming in. I'll quickly show that order flow chart so that we can relate to that and see how it helps us to take trades. In fact, so we have the order flow charts on the screen. We have the Nifty, Bank Nifty order flow chart, and these are the 30-minute order flow. So we'll just look at the 30-minute order flow and then move on to the 3-minute order flow. So, so as you can see, our main bias is formed by the 30-minute order flow. And we know what the bigger time frame is doing. And then we want to align ourselves with that bigger time frame. So quickly, I'll just show you yesterday's chart when we made the dip to test the 14th February's VWAP. What we saw on the 30-minute order flow is an RB. So we can see the POC has shifted to the down. We have zeros on the sell side. So this is a very clean indication that the downside is getting limited. So after this, once we get above VWAP, it is always going to be an auction which the buyers are controlling. And as you can see, this green line is the VWAP and we have stayed above the VWAP all day. So these IB bars are giving you further confirmation that the upside is what you need to look for. So you need to look for long trades. So we have this IB and this IB. So these are telling you that you need to hold on to your long positions till the time you either get an RS or see a reversal of the. So this is today's chart. And okay, that so today when we opened higher, you can see on the 30 minutes we have not seen any demand. We have zeros. So that is the reason we probe lower and we went on to just stall above that POC of yesterday. So we made this low of 46351. Again, as similar to yesterday, we have formed a RB bar here. So we know that the downside is limited and this will be our reference for staying long. So on the 30 minutes, although we did not form any IB today, after this bar was formed, we did form a. It was clear that the probe is to the upside, and we formed that lows over here. So what I would want to show you here is, so this bar, when we made this dip in the G, just before the K period. So I'll come to the 3-minute order flow chart, and that will be more clearer to see how the auction had given us that move that it is going on to tag that 2nd of February references. And so we have the 3-minute order flow chart, and I'll quickly go through only today's order flow to see how our bias was confirmed, what we had formed through the market profile chart. So this was the IB bar I was talking about, which came at the close of yesterday. It was not on the 30-minute, but on the 3-minute. So you can see the low of this bar is at 46360. So we had some good green caught, which was getting into the close. So today at the open, naturally, the longs will look to book profits, and that is what they did. And this red caught in the opening bar was only showing that the longs are booking profit. So the reason that we did not get any fresh demand was asking us to wait for before we take some new positions, new long positions. And we remained in a narrow range. It was an open auction start, as I mentioned. And this probe lower, when we made this low of 46350, we can see RBs which are formed here. And immediately after we get back above VWAP, this becomes our reference. And so these bars are telling us that there is some demand which is coming back into the auction. So we just follow the VWAP till now because we have not formed any IB bars, and we look for IBs. So this at 939 we have formed this low just above the VWAP, and we are seeing zeros near the supply, and we formed an RB. And after this we have formed one IB. So IB is on low volume, but still the strength is telling that the VWAP is not getting sellers, and we are looking for more upside. So this again we form an RS here. We get the second IB bar within the 10 time bars, but again it is on low volume, so we just wait for a better signal. And here you see this dip below VWAP has again got an RB bar. So we're just looking at the RBs and we are not getting any IS to be long. This 1148 bar is a nice bar on good volume which is got above VWAP. So this is again giving us the reference of this 46415, which has got zeros and which has got RBs, multiple RBs. So it is telling us the demand is very much here. And once we get above VWAP and we form this uh, pattern, we know that it is just a matter of time before we get a fresh signal that more buying is coming in and we can probe higher. So when does that happen? Let us just go through and see when that happens. So this is one IB bar. We are already biased on the long side and we get this IB at 1236, right? And we form an RS here. And then here what happens here is we have got one big green at this new highs of 46624, and immediately even the POC shifted to the top. So it could have been a green which has got stuck, or it could be a seller whose stop loss has been hit. So here, but the bias is still on the upside and we form one more IB here. So this IB low becomes our reference and we are looking for a long trade once this RB is taken out on a closing basis on a 3-minute bar. But what we have here is again an RS right at that level. So we're still waiting for some more confirmation. And what we get at this 130 bar is a big volume bar with zeros on the supply side and a red which is on the seller, which he was on obviously on the wrong side. So this seller could either be a stop loss of this long who had entered at the wrong level, and the market was waiting for the seller to come out before making the next move, or it could be selling which is getting absorbed. But all said and done, our bias was to the upside, and once we get this kind of a sequence, we know that we have to go long once this RS is taken out, and this RS was taken out in the immediate next bar. So this was our place to go long. Although the POC of this 3-minute bar has shifted to the top, we can still have this very POC as the reference to remain long, and this 46626 as the stop loss for our shorts, for our trades, for longs. So what happened then was immediately we remained above this. There was supply coming in because this was a previous supply zone and we were tagging that, we were moving towards that neutral extreme VWAP. So we remained above that and we formed this fresh IB bar. So once we form this fresh IB bar, we make this as our reference. We look to book longs and have this as our TSL of for the longs. So here we've made this new high, but here we can see zeros on the buy side. So this is how we look, we find out where we need to book and where we need to hold. This green IB bar had green caught, so it did not give us any reason to think about booking out because it was closing right at the highs. And then after this, we made this bar. It was very clear that there was profit booking as well as the caught was turning red and there is no demand at these new highs. So this is where we stopped. And once this was broken, then it was a done deal on the upside because we had to take off this. And today we made these high as I said, the J for Joker period. So we could not trust that highs. So after this, we went on to make these new lows. You can just make a note of this reference, the low of this IB bar 46714, and you can see how we are stalling right there at this 206 bar. So this was giving further confirmation that the downside is more active in bank nifty, and we can go on to test lower levels, and which is what we did. And we even got an is here, and we broke VWAP. Once we broke VWAP, we saw more liquidation coming in, and we went on to make the lows where from where we had started the upside bias in the morning. So this is what had happened. And even when we got this IB, you can see this is again stalling right at that reference of 46714. So this is how order flow helps us to remain in sync. And when we get powerful signals, powerful bars of high volumes, those bars will leave footprints which you can make note of and carry forward till the time they don't get negated, because this 46714 will remain an important reference again on Monday. And why it is important? Because this is very close to that selling tail we saw in Bank Nifty future chart. So it was from 46739. So that is the reason you are seeing supply coming back at this zone. So this is what will be the move forward on Monday. On the downside, we will need to see where it gets uh, whether it gets support at that 4636350 level. Otherwise, we are on for that VWAP test from that day. So any queries for now, guys? We can take the questions, and then I think we can wrap it up. It's a Friday evening, so it'll be good to get back to the family and have a nice weekend. So any queries? Yes, we the as I said, the bias of the higher time frame is in our mind when we're looking to take trades. So when we are forming higher value on a daily basis, we will look for more long trades on that day rather than short trades. And even if we are taking contra trades, it would be for a very uh, limited time, and it will be mostly in the C period where we have the seaside setup, and we will quickly get in and come out of the trade. So any more queries, guys? Else, I think we can. COT is one last final confirmation we look for. We don't take any trades based on COT, but COT is one final confirmation. Our main signals are the market profile references and the order flow. But sometimes COT can give you a slightly differing number. But as long as the IB bars are holding, we would look for those COT reading also to change. But yes, if you're taking a long trade, COT being in the green is an extra confirmation. Any more queries, guys? Fine, then I think that's it for today. So thanks for joining in, and hope this session was helpful. And looking forward to catch up for another session soon. And all of you have a great weekend. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for joining in.